David Packout.
Ephraim Diveroli.
It's despicable.
Imagine two 20-somethings controlling millions of dollars in the deadly business of war. This isn't fiction. It's a true story of AEY Inc., a company that would become one of the biggest arms suppliers during the Afghan war. They scored a $300 million deal with the US Army, a contract that seemed like a dream but would quickly turn into a nightmare, leading to their downfall. How did these two guys build this arms empire, and why did it lead to their downfall? We need to go back in time to the person who started it all. Ephraim Diveroli was not your typical teenager. Born into an Orthodox Jewish family in Miami Beach, he was a rebellious spirit from the get-go. Expelled from school in 9th grade, he was a classic example of a prodigy gone rogue. But this expulsion was not the end for Ephraim. It was merely the beginning of a journey that would lead him into the murky waters of arms dealing. When he moved to Los Angeles to live with his uncle, he was introduced to the world of arms dealing, a world that fascinated him and ignited his entrepreneurial spirit. By 18, he was back in Miami, ready to make his mark. He and his father founded AEY Incorporated, a company that would soon become infamous in the defense contracting world. Ephraim was a natural hustler, a shrewd negotiator who knew how to play the game. He started by bidding on small military contracts, gradually building a reputation for his company. However, the company would hit its biggest breakthrough only after Diveroli's business partner would get involved. David Packhouse, 4 years older than Diveroli, was Ephraim's childhood friend, and their bond was strong. They both met at a Orthodox synagogue in Miami Beach. When Ephraim approached him in 2005 with the offer to join AEY, David was intrigued. Before this offer, Packhouse was working completely different jobs. He was a trained massage parlor and tried selling bed sheets to old people's homes in Miami. Ephraim had a way with words. He painted a picture of immense profits and an exciting future, and David found himself unable to resist. The potential for enormous profits proved too tempting. David decided to take the plunge into this dangerous but lucrative business. He became Ephraim's right-hand man, and together they navigated treacherous waters of arms dealing. But what seemed easy, Diveroli and Packhouse used some very shady tactics to get deals with the government. Pentagon's buyers were often soldiers with little business experience, making them easy targets for Ephraim Diveroli. Using a blend of charm, patriotism, and a deep understanding of military culture, Diveroli knew how to win them over. He could convincingly impersonate high-ranking officers to gather inside information on deals, and when necessary, he played the role of a desperate small business owner on the brink of ruin to secure contracts. His voice would quiver, and he could even cry, claiming his family would suffer if he lost a deal. Whether it was psychosis or superb acting, Diveroli believed every word he said. Yet Diveroli didn't care about victims of the Iraq War. He was driven by profit. As Packhouse said in the Rolling Stone article, Ephraim was a Republican because they started more wars. Diveroli celebrated the Iraq invasion, seeing it as a boon for business. The company once attempted to supply arms to the Nepalese king during mass protests, cynically dubbing it the Save the King project. For Diveroli, money was the ultimate goal, and he would do anything to make it. Diveroli's greed for money would continue to the company's biggest deal of its history, trying to cut corners for the deal. In 2007, the US government was in a bid. The conflict in Afghanistan was raging, and there was an urgent need to equip the Afghan National Army and police with ammunition. To solve this problem, a $298 million contract was awarded to AEY Inc. AEY Inc. seemed like a legitimate choice on paper. Diveroli had already secured several smaller contracts and knew how to navigate the complex world of defense procurement. But this deal was different. It was massive and fraught with high stakes. The pressure was on to deliver millions of rounds of AK-47 ammunition. Diveroli's hunger for profit led him to a dangerous gamble. Instead of the reliable, high-quality ammo the US military needed, he set his sights on dirt-cheap Cold War-era stockpiles from Eastern Europe. His primary target? Albania. Through a network of contacts and some clever maneuvering, got in touch with Albanian arms dealers. These dealers were eager to offload their aging stockpiles, and Diveroli was ready to buy. He only saw the profits. There was just one big problem. The ammunition was made in China. See, US has massive economic sanctions against China, starting from the Tiananmen Square protests. Is this whole deal going to fall on this? We'll repackage it, make it look new. No one will know the difference, said Diveroli. Repackaging was the key. Diveroli had the ammunition repacked in Albania to obscure its origins. The plan was risky, but Diveroli was confident. With the repackaged ammunition ready, AEY began fulfilling the contract. Shipments were sent to Afghanistan and the rounds were distributed to the Afghan forces. At first glance, everything seemed to be going smoothly. The US government received the deliveries and the Afghan soldiers got their ammunition. However, behind the scenes, cracks were starting to slow. The ammunition, though repackaged to look new, was still old and questionable quality. Concerns started to emerge about its reliability and safety. Yet Diveroli and Packhouse continued to push forward. The stakes were immense. Diveroli knew that any misstep could expose their entire operation. The profits were high, but so was the risk. They had to maintain the facade that everything was above board, even as they continued to source and ship questionable ammunition from Albania. The complexity of the logistics was staggering, involving multiple countries and layers of deception. But for Diveroli, it was worth it. The deal was a gold mine, but he was determined to milk it for all it was worth. However, it might have looked like they could pull off the hiding of the origin of the ammo, but the Pentagon had already started an investigation. The rapid success of AEY brought not just fame and fortune, but also powerful enemies. Competitors in the arms industry were not pleased with AEY's meteoric rise. One American arms dealer, feeling the heat, lodged a complaint with the State Department. He falsely accused AEY of buying Chinese-made AK-47s and shipping them to the Iraqi army. This allegation, although baseless, triggered a full-blown criminal investigation by the Pentagon. On August 23, 2007, federal agents raided AEY's Miami Beach offices. They ordered everyone to step away from their computers and seized all the company's hard drives and files. This raid was a turning point. The agents uncovered a treasure trove of incriminating emails about the Chinese markings on the ammunition from Albania and the conspiracy to repackage it. David Packhouse knew they were in deep trouble. The emails were incredibly incriminating. They spelled out everything, Packhouse later admitted. The emails had names, dates, and details that made it undeniable. Faced with the overwhelming evidence, Packhouse decided to turn himself in and to cooperate with the authorities to avoid indictment. Packhouse wasn't alone. Alex Potritsky, another AEY associate, also agreed to cooperate. But Diveroli, he was undeterred. He continued shipping Chinese ammo to Afghanistan, and the US Army kept accepting it. Yet the repackaging in Albania was getting sloppier. Some crates were infested with termites and water damage had compromised the ammunition. The house of cards truly began to collapse when the New York Times published a front-page story in March 2008 titled "Supplier Under Scrutiny on Arms for Afghans." This expose was a bombshell. It shed light on AEY's fraudulent practices and put intense pressure onto authorities. Before the Times story broke, Packhouse had been led to believe he wouldn't charge for shipping pre-embargo Chinese ammunition. But the public outcry changed everything. Soon after, Packhouse Patritsky and Diveroli were indicted on 71 counts of fraud. The evidence was overwhelming. Faced with the reality of their situation, all three pleaded guilty. The legal consequences were severe. Diveroli, seen as the mastermind, received a 4-year prison sentence. Packhouse, who cooperated, was sentenced to 7 months of house arrest. The story didn't end there. Costa Trebichka, AUY's contact in Albania, who helped them to repackage the ammunition, who had been tipped off the New York Times, faced his own troubles. In September 2008, he died in a mysterious accident in Albania, adding another layer of intrigue and suspicion to the case. Throughout all this chaos, AY had made 85 deliveries of munitions to Afghanistan worth over $66 million. They had even received orders for another $100 million in ammunition. An investigation by the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform later concluded that AY's contract was a case study in what's wrong with the procurement process. It criticized the Pentagon for a questionable need for the contract and a grossly inadequate assessment of AEY's qualifications. In January, Packhouse expressed remorse in court, but he believed they were scapegoats, prosecuted for embarrassing the Bush administration. No government officials faced charges, even though it was clear that they knew AEY was shipping Chinese-made ammunition. Diveroli, despite being barred from selling arms as convicted felon, he couldn't stay out the business. He was caught in another federal sting operation while trying to act as a consultant for an ammunition deal. And ATF agents lured Diveroli into handling a gun, which led to his arrest. Diveroli couldn't resist boasting. Once a gun runner, always a gun runner.